Yeah. So this is BS with Joe.
It is.
So we were talking about the Kennedys, not the dead Kennedys.
It was a decent band in the 80s. But yeah, Bobby Kennedy, and it's frustrating to me because I like what he's doing. But the people that are parents of dyslexic children are giving him all kinds of crap, saying that it's disrespectful of dyslexics, I guess, to and misleading to make them think that their issue was caused by vaccines. So there's a push to stop investigating that. And I don't get it. I understand that they are trying to say that it's not fair to their children to... But at the same time, if there is a correlation, yeah, we kind of need to know.
Right, and that's the thing, is what's been going on with our youths. You look at autism and everything like that.
Autism's through the roof in the last 10 years.
And 20 years ago...
Even longer than that.
20 years ago, I didn't even know what autism was. I don't think it was even classified as a symptom of something.
I think it was around the 90s when it started being... quietly at that time. But then in the 2000s, it was there.
Oh, yeah.
And that was also around the same time when we started having all the problems with the allergies. When you can't have peanut butter and jelly at school anymore because, Sally might have an allergy.
Well, wheat allergies. Gluten allergies didn't exist. But there is a correlation on how they believe gluten allergies came about.
Okay, talk to me.
It was in the process of refining bread.
Yeah. So, the bread that you buy in the grocery store is not bread.
Right. And that's part of the reason why I think gluten allergies are around.
Okay.
Because factories don't want to have time to let bread rise.
Right.
You know how you have to let it sit for an hour or so to let it rise?
Yeah.
And then make bread?
Well, yeah, they put it in the proofing box.
Right. So
it happens a little faster than that in the proofing
absolutely.
box.
Yeah, right. But when factories are not allowing the bread to rise and they're cooking it anyway, as they believe that's what causes some of the gluten allergies in development.
Maybe. But then again, at the same time, I would guess that over 80% of the people that claim they have a gluten intolerance are just glutards.
Glutards. You're probably right.
They're the ones that are just jumping on a trend, bandwagon-esque. Yes.
But talking about dyslexics, that also goes into a little bit I want to talk about with this segment. Is I'm dyslexic. If anybody hasn't known, I've battled with it for years, and
I had no idea. I didn't know you were on the spectrum.
Well, I'm not on the spectrum. Dyslexia is not considered like a autism or anything like that.
Okay.
What it is it's just a process of which the brain processes information.
Oh, all right. Dyslexia. Yeah, totally different from autism. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one where you read things backwards.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
You it's just something different with the brain.
Yeah, and I have a nephew that has Asperger's, which is similar
to autism, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like in between the two.
Right.
Yeah.
But dyslexia, it doesn't mean you're not intelligent. It just means the way you process information is different.
Okay.
It's kind of like the brain was wired a little different. That's what they believe. Still, it's one of these kind of things. It's
you
not
just got dropped on your head when you're a baby.
Yeah, probably. But what I wanted to talk about today was just how is everyone doing? What I mean by that is, like, we've been dealing with a lot of traumatic stuff with the American people since COVID.
Yeah.
You had COVID, you had, and a lot of people had Trump derangement syndrome even before that.
True.
And you have people that had, oh my God, we got Biden in the office syndromes. And then January 6th happened. And now, you have all these people that are like, oh my God, what are we going to do when we have all of our illegals gone? Are they going to pick our fruits and vegetables anymore?
That's racist.
That is very racist. But that's what I believe some of them on the left would think of.
I know they do. I've heard them say that.
Yes.
I've heard prominent left people say that, like Congress people say that.
Yes.
It's like, wow.
Right. And here's the thing is but I want everybody to know that we're our country, I think, is going to get through this one way or another.
I believe we're going to come out of this a lot stronger. I mean, I wouldn't say that we're going to be as strong as we were pre-World War One.
Right.
Actually, more like just post-World War Two. That's where we were the strongest ever.
Well, I think our country was really strong after World War One, before the Great Depression. The Roaring Twenties, they called it.
Yeah.
Because you think about it, you know, in 1900, a lot of people still didn't even have automobiles.
True.
Then all of a sudden, Ford makes the Model A, and then the Model T, which is affordable for everybody.
Yep.
And
T came first, actually.
Oh yeah, the T, and then all of a sudden, everybody could afford a car to get from to and from, instead of, you know, keeping your horse healthy to try to get to and from the markets.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it cost people jobs because you didn't have the guy scooping the crap out of the center of the road anymore.
But it created a lot more jobs with mechanics.
I know. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Right. And thinking about that now, and we may make a segment about this, but we may just quickly talk about it and jump off of it, is how the Roaring Twenties, how did it go from being so great to horrible? Well, I think it had to do a lot with... We did talk about that, was lending practices.
It was the banks.
And the banks.
Yeah, the banks collapsed.
Yeah. Because they were giving people loans
It
that they
was-
shouldn't have,
Yeah.
that were putting it into the stock market.
Yeah.
So when the banks called...
It was pretty much the same thing that led up to 2008.
Yeah.
It's slightly different, but basically the banks screwed up.
Yeah.
They gave people a lot more credit than they should have.
Well, actually, you could probably put this segment as student loan issues. Or
Well,
student...
I actually just saw, as a matter of fact, just today, Catherine Levitt was on the press conference and talking about student loans, and Trump is absolutely not going to be repaying anyone's student loan.
Not only that, but a lot of them have been put on deferment since Joe Biden's administration.
Yeah.
And he's talking about no longer putting those deferments off because it's actually hurting the banking industries and causing a little bit of the issues with our inflation.
Okay.
The problem with that is a lot of millennials have all this student loan debt, and now it's being deferred. Now they're going to banks, they're getting home loans and car loans because they're showing that we're making this much money, but I'm not having to pay back our student loans just yet.
Right.
Because they're being deferred. So now if they're no longer being deferred, and now they're going to force payment on these things. Buy house, buy car.
Yeah, Levitt was talking about how in the last 4 years there hasn't been any bank seizures or collections on student loans.
Right, and
At
no,
all. And now they're going to ramp that back up.
oh yeah, and that's the thing that scares me with this. So, you know, with banks putting all these mortgages into subprime mortgages or whatever, or AAA rated backed bonds
Yeah.
for these mortgages, and even though some of them were subprime,
Right.
they're doing the same thing, I think, with student loans.
They might.
Why wouldn't they? It worked for them in 2008. They didn't get their hands slapped or anything like that in 2008. Matter of fact, some banks got bigger and they got bailed out.
The problem with the student loan doing that is they're government backed.
Right, they're government backed, but they're government backed by the banks. So if the banks sell that loan, does the American government have to back it still?
Yes.
Oh,
It's
that's
still-
going to be...
No matter which bank it was drawn off of, it is a U.S. Department of Education loan.
Even though it was sold and repackaged
Yes.
as a different loan.
Yes.
So all these banks are selling
Because
off
my
this...
student loan was sold from, I don't remember who the original one was, but now it's with Nelnet, which is a different company. And it's it's still, you'd still log into the U.S. Department of Education, and it's the same loan.
So here's the thing I'm thinking. What if we were a foreign country? Let's buy all of this student loan debt, or all this government-backed loans that they have to pay back. Now we technically can own a large portion of American financial institution.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we could have another country subverting what's going on in our country financially.
We could. I mean, China's already been trying to do that.
Well, this is a good way for them to do it.
Well, don't give them any more ideas. But yeah, I mean, yeah. How are we doing? We're doing okay.
I probably
You know?
just black-pilled a lot of our viewers, and maybe even you.
No, it's just. I was thinking about how I could segue into John Kennedy on that, and they just can't think of a way to do it.
Sorry, I just hijacked your segment.
But yeah, as far as the student loan situation goes, it sucks. But it's a very large amount of debt because, I mean, let's face it, the 1 year of college in the 1970s was what, $5,000?
Yeah, and this is a good school.
Yeah, like a state school.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in the 1990s, it was $30,000 for 1 year of college. Today, it's like $65,000-$70,000 for 1 year,
Yeah,
and that doesn't include housing.
yeah, and that's the thing is like, and you know, this goes back to I think the 70s, like you were talking about with education. It was affordable to go to college, get a master's degree in something, and make a great career out of it.
Right.
Now you're looking at a wash because the amount of debt you have and the amount of debt you have to pay.
Right.
You're going to be paying it for 30 years to have this great job. It's not going to be worth
It's not worth
the
it.
hardship.
It's not worth it. Unless your family has money and they can pay for you to go to school. If you take out loans, no, you just sold your whole life.
Yeah. And that's where, like, I think a lot of younger generations are either, and this goes back to a little bit of the health. Our Gen Y generation, or Gen Z generation, and Gen Y, which is starting college now, is...
Are they really?
I think so.
I thought Gen Z was still in college.
Gen
They're in
Z
the
still in
20s.
college, yeah. Oh yeah, so it's Gen Z. It
Yeah.
is a Gen Y.
Yeah, Gen Z are the ones that are broke.
Yeah. Well, the Gen Zs, they're broke. They're in school and they're getting these degrees, and they're like, "What job do we have?" Because the job market's not really there.
The job market's not there.
It's
Housing-
growing. It's
Housing
growing.
is way too expensive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, and they're getting out of college about now, and
Yeah.
the college student loan people are like,
A lot of Gen Zs are working 2 and 3 jobs. Like 30% of the Uber drivers are Gen Z,
yeah,
and they also have full-time jobs,
yeah,
and they're still just barely breaking even. What was it? Over 80% of Gen Zs do not have any savings. They live paycheck to paycheck because all the wealth is in the baby boomers.
Well,
It's not us.
millennials are struggling too.
It's not Gen X isn't holding all the wealth.
No.
Millennials aren't holding all the wealth. It's the baby boomers that are holding all the wealth.
Well, some baby boomers are, because I work with some baby boomers, which I can't believe they're still working, but they're well, actually no, they're just older Gen Xers.
Yeah.
But yeah, the baby boom generation, and this is the thing, is this is when I think all the chickens come to roost, is when the baby boom generation, you know, pass. It's going to be, you know, they're going to leave all their assets to their children, and they're going to sell them because either they already got homes, which is going to be us, Gen X, and maybe younger or older millennials. They're going to leave these properties to us.
Right.
When we go to sell them, because it's going to drop when they pass. It's going to drop like a rock.
Well, do you want to talk about the housing market?
Let's do that for our next segment.
Okay.
All right.
Because that's another one.
All right. So, like, share, subscribe. Try to stay healthy,
Please.
mentally and physically.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and leave a comment.
Did you happen to notice that the government